Okay, so today's video. So yesterday was actually supposed to be today's video. If you were to read it, it says like game controversies of 2012, and Grand Theft Auto 4 wasn't the best. Nah. Like, it had some mini games that I enjoyed. Well, okay, let me correct that. It was missing some mini games from previous Grand Theft Auto games that I enjoyed. For example, I enjoyed the trucking mission game, mini game that they had. I'd put on like the country station because it just, country station felt like, trucking music. I mean, you could also go with classic rock as well. That's something I would do in like GTA 5. Find a big rig with a trailer, then put on the country or the classic rock station and just randomly drive around for with nothing in mind. Oh, there's a mission over there? Well, I'm busy. I'm listening to music, just cruising. Been watching your videos for years, fighting against anti-consumer decisions made by these publishers. Crazy how these companies can survive without putting their reputation first. I know. Really makes me wish I had money to start my own company, because I wouldn't release no games with day one updates. We would do expansion packs, but nothing like, basically DLC, microtransaction, loot boxes wouldn't even be in our video game vocabulary. Okay, so the plan for today is to check out Mass Effect 3's ending controversial video. This is from Colin Moriarty. Now, I actually have two videos here, both with Colin Moriarty in it, because most people probably don't know. I didn't even know this, but Jim Sterling's and Colin Moriarty in like 2016 did a video, obviously, as we can see right here, and they actually discussed Colin Moriarty's opinion in his original 2012 video, which he got a lot of flack for. Okay, and for obvious reasons, if anyone ever saw it. Although it says it's like 2 minutes and 53 seconds, I could have sworn it was way longer than that, because I thought the video, my original video response to his video, was like 30 minutes because it was so long. But maybe I just had a lot to say. That could have been it. So we're just going to basically watch this video. I'm going to kind of give you my thoughts and opinions based on mostly what I remember from what I said back in the day. And then we'll go and see his opinion on what he thinks about the video that he did. And then I'll give you my opinion on that. And then the stream is it was going to be for 1 p.m. Okay? It was going to be for originally 1 p.m. is what this was scheduled for. But my nephew needs a ride home from work and he gets off at 2 p.m. So I was like, oh, I better start an hour earlier then. And then the original stream wouldn't even start in OBS. It kept telling me there was some kind of error. So I just deleted the stream, the event, and created a new one. And it connected. I don't know why. Weird. But either way, here we are. I think I was like 11, 12 minutes late, but that's all right. Nobody was around yet. So anyway, another thing is, as I started to mention, but I kind of sidetracked, is I was originally going to do this yesterday, but I was having issues to where people could hear the audio. Like, you could barely hear it. It was like almost a whisper. So after that stream, I managed to get it working. There was just a little checkbox in OBS that was not checked, which I don't know why it was, but c'est la vie. Here we go. Let's travel back in time to 2012 to Colin Moriarty's opinion about the controversy surrounding Mass Effect 3. Let me shrink my box here a little. Can you all hear the video all right? Not me, but the video.
Colin Moriarty, editor of IGN PlayStation. I've been seeing a lot on the internet lately about Mass Effect 3 and about people kind of getting angry and complaining about the endings and the DLC and this and that and the other thing. So people don't like Mass Effect 3's ending. That's it. Some people don't like Mass Effect 3's ending, so they want a petition to change it. That's the reason that they want BioWare to change it, because they didn't like it. It's not like Drew Karpyshyn and
So can you hear Colin? Is he at a decent volume? I think I made myself a little too small. Okay. So the first issue that I take place with is obviously is that people don't like the ending. This was a failure on his part because obviously it wasn't just about the ending. It was about the cut, copy, pasted, alternate, recolored endings. That's what it was about. So he kind of conflated that. He conflated the whole reasoning of what it actually was. And it wasn't a very good take when he originally did it. And, oh, dude, I was so pissed when I saw this. Like I said back in the day, I never played a Mass Effect game, but this ignorant fool pissed me off so much. I was like, man, this fool.
His team or the other writers that stepped into Mass Effect 3. It's not their vision, it's your vision. It's exactly what you wanted, right? I hated the ending of Battlestar Galactica. I hated the ending of Rosemary's Baby. You know, that had really bad endings, but you know what? The adventure in getting to that ending was pretty good still, and I don't think it ruins the entire project.
Well, you know, getting to the adventure, going through the adventure to get to the ending, I think is an irrelevant point. Because his examples are TV shows. And there's plenty of TV shows and movies that I myself were like, that was a fucked up ending within of itself. That was stupid. But, I mean, you look at something like Mass Effect, and the whole idea was your choices matter. And this is ultimately what it led up to was cut, copy, pasted, alternate, recolored endings. I mean, how could you not even see how people would find that a little irritating? That they spend, let's see, how much were games back in the day? $60, $50, something like that. You know, spend anywhere from $150 to a little more than that for 3 games. Actually, I think they were like $40, right? Wasn't it like, I can't remember. It was some fucking price. But either way, the point being is, you know, they spent money on these games in order leading all the way up to that point. So I think they justifiably have a right to be pissed.
There's just a proper and improper way to go about criticizing a project and accepting, you know, that the fiction that's being made perhaps maybe isn't the way you wanted it to be. There was this one game that came out not too long ago. It's called Resistance 3, and I really hated the ending, even though I was invested in it so much. And I thought the ending of the game was abysmal. Here's what I didn't do. I didn't go on Twitter and lambast and harass the guys who made Resistance 3. So I didn't go on Metacritic and tank their score. I didn't send around stupid online petitions asking them to change the ending of their own game and their own fiction. That's actually what's happening.
The only thing I've ever agreed with Colin in this video is, yeah, objectively the petition is stupid because you're not going to get anything done. I mean, I've seen petitions for all kinds of things. Like, one of my favorite PlayStation games, which is also the first RPG I ever played, is The Legend of Dragoon. I think almost every year I've seen a petition somebody creates to be like, hey, let's get PlayStation to give us The Legend of Dragoon 2 or a remaster. And it's like, that's not going to happen. Nobody cares about these petitions, especially in regards to video games. So, yeah, that's the only point that I really agree with him, is that the whole idea of petitions to try to change the ending was stupid. As for people harassing, I think most people fail and they conflate the idea of your average troll, people trying to make another group look bad, or just trying to get a reaction from someone. So, if anything, I would say it's just really Colin kind of falling for trolls.
Happening with Mass Effect 3 right now. People are petitioning BioWare to go back and change the ending of the game as if you wrote the fiction and they didn't, as if it's your game and not theirs. That's not to say you can't disagree. That is to say that
Technically, it is our game because we did buy it. Just putting that out there, you know. Unless you owned the digital version, then technically it wouldn't be your game. So, yeah. I mean, we all get what he's saying. More so, it's like their vision. But they actually create these games with story and characters in mind for us. So without us, these companies kind of don't exist.
there is a proper way to disagree. At the same time, people are upset about From Ashes DLC because it's day one DLC.
You didn't get the complete game. No, there was day one DLC.
Fucking boogie.
Day one DLC, and that's unforgivable.
Because God forbid BioWare and Electronic Arts, they want to make money. I know that game development is supposed to be altruistic and it's supposed to be people just make games for fun and then they go home and sleep on.
That was another ignorant statement from him. You know, we've heard that excuse many times from people, and not just from people like him, but from gamers. They perpetuate the same excuse that, ironically, Electronic Arts is the one that started. That, hey, we need to make money, we got to pay the bills. But yet, what most people fail to realize is, you look at the indie developers, why aren't they doing microtransactions, not including the mobile department? Why aren't they doing microtransactions if they don't make any money off the initial game sale? That seems counterintuitive of what everyone is claiming. Not to mention, Electronic Arts is also a publisher of games. So, they make money either way.
On cots in their mom's basement, because that's the way the game industry has always worked, right? So BioWare makes day one DLC From Ashes, and Electronic Arts says that it's not on the disc. But who gives a shit if it's on the disc? Who cares if Mass Effect 3 was 90% DLC that was locked on the disc? That doesn't mean anything. It's their game. So if the From Ashes DLC disgruntles you, if the day one DLC disgruntles you, that's fine. Why don't you do something proactive about it by not buying it? Of course, this all kind of culminates in a huge problem, which is entitlement. And people think they're getting gouged in the game industry, and people think that they're spending too much money. Well, I have a fucking reality check for you. The reality check is that games are cheaper both in real money and in inflated money than they've ever been. Even if you spend $10 on From Ashes and added that to the $60 you paid for Mass Effect 3, your games are still cheaper than they were when I was a kid. If you agree or disagree, you can always let me know on Twitter. Follow me at NoTaxation. I'm out.
Follow him at No Taxation? I wonder why he went with that username. Oh. You know what? My cat was distracting me and started climbing up my leg. So I need to rewind what the hell he was talking about.
You paid for Mass Effect 3, your games are still cheaper than they were when I was a kid.
Oh, well, that's an obvious fucking point. I mean, most video games back in the day were like $100, $80, way cheaper even today, which are currently at $70, and objectively, I don't think they deserve it. The kitten likes attention. So, yeah. That was his take back in the day, and he got a lot of flack for it. And yeah, ironically, he doesn't regret everything that he says in it, but he, calling gamers entitled obviously was, he later was like, yeah, that was a mistake. And he felt that he could have had a better argument than the one that he actually gave. It's probably hungry. Be careful. So, yeah. All right, so this is the newer video, well, from 2016. The interview with Jim Sterling, which I don't even think I think he is a she now, if I remember correctly, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. And let's see what his 2016 self had to say about his 2012 video.
Do ask Colin about that time he called everyone entitled about EA, and I'm like, because I didn't agree with that, of course, and I don't know if we've ever discussed it.
No,
but,
I'm happy
yeah.
to. I mean,
let me change the view. Sorry, people.
That video, in terms of the way it was published at the end, was probably my biggest blunder. But the funny thing, and I don't think we've ever really talked about it, is that the video originally was about 3 times longer, and it was way more sarcastic. So while the point was being brought through that I think, and I still believe that, EA has the right to make this game. I still think it's really fucked up that people petition to change the ending. I think that's absurd. I still think that's like the height of absurdity in my mind. Like, I think that
it is absurd.
It's art. It exists and you hate it, but we don't ask you.
Nothing's ever going to change.
You know what I mean? But I don't like the way I came off in that video. I don't like that
I necessarily coined the term entitled gamer. I don't like that. And if I can go back and change that, I would. But I'm almost glad I can't, because it was, my girlfriend brings it up sometimes. I remember we were in Oakland walking around a lake, and I was just like, that was awful. Like, I really fucked up, you know? And she's like...
We've all been there.
Yeah, she's like,
Oh, let me...
You know, I've had my moments as well.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
she's like, but you...
And Gamer Rants had his moments too. I've totally said some pretty dumb fucking shit. I don't know if anyone remembers the original Gamer Rant channel, but me and one of my subscribers got into a comment argument. Well, I got pissed off, so I made a video basically going over the comments. Classic Gamer Rant, screaming, yelling, cussing. And then it was actually other subscribers that came and watched the video, and they were like, you probably should rethink this video, you know, calm down and actually think about everything that you said and what you guys were talking about. And then, of course, it was like, okay, yeah, I'm a fucking moron. So I did another video apologizing to the individual and, of course, my subscribers. And I told them that I wouldn't do that again because, you know, we can all have a difference of opinion, but there's no need to become so malicious and malicious to people. And I'll admit that that's something that I don't do even today. It may come out every once in a while in a comment or something, but for the most part, I try to stay cool and collected, you know, be the mature one. So, yeah, you know, I think every YouTuber, whether you're in the comments and you're not an actual YouTuber, or whether you're an actual YouTuber, we have all, you know, either with literally our mouth and a camera recorded for everyone, or on our keyboard, said or typed some pretty dumb fucking shit.
She's like, but Colin, you're smart enough to learn from it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. I got to take the positive out of the negative. And that's what I've done. So that video was, I don't know, 4 years ago now. And it was, I wish I said it more eloquently. I wish that I'm pretty good off the cuff, but when you say something seriously, or so, you're trying to make a serious point, which is what I always used to do with my editorials at IGN.
Yeah.
That some people rub some people the wrong way, but whatever. I feel like I could have just said it in a more constructive way. So while I stand by the overall message, which is I think the creator has to create and we have to consume, or we don't have to consume, but that product exists and some people like it and some people don't, and they're not wrong for liking it. I should have said it better. And I don't know if you necessarily agree with some of the things.
That's kind of my thinking today. Like, you look at like something like FIFA or Madden. I don't really care for it. I think it's an issue. I think it's a problem. But there are people that like it. I don't know why. You know, they have their reasons. I actually have a friend who doesn't like the microtransactions in Madden. And even though they're releasing the same game and he knows that they haven't really updated much of anything, he still admits that he will always buy a new Madden game. So I also kind of look at it that there might be a bit of addiction to some of these games as well. Not just video games in general, because anything can be an addiction, all right? You could be addicted to sex, porn, masturbating. You take your pick. Anything can be an addiction. So I think that even certain parts of video games, such as you need the next Madden, you need the next Assassin's Creed, could in its own right be a form of addiction.
You've done, or with that particular situation, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've often advocated for the right of the audience to not dictate. I never feel like it should be dictated, but suggested. In my mind, it's always, if a company like BioWare were to rewrite the ending, they clearly did not care enough about the original ending.
Sure.
So in my mind, nothing of artistic value was lost. If they stand by it, then I respect that because they have decided what they did was for the best. And it's hard to argue about that.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with that sentiment. Maybe that's because I'm a creator myself. And to me, it just seems like as a creator, it doesn't look like they really put all that they could put into it. Because, I mean, cut, copy, pasted, alternate, recolored endings. So, and I think everyone understands that, you know, when it comes to video games, there are things that we know You know, you look at Skyrim, how many of the same character can you run into? You look at any Dragon Quest game, how many of the same characters can you run into that have a different name? But it doesn't really bother us because we know. And that's because it's cheaper. You don't even need to have a business understanding to know that. But when it comes to something like, I think, like where your choices were supposed to matter and you have a cut, copy, pasted, alternate, recolored ending, then I don't really see that as an artistic representation of choice. I see that more as the publisher, Electronic Arts, forcing the developer, the creators, to hurry it up. I think that was part of the creation problem within the ending of the game, is that they weren't given enough time to properly really lay these endings out, and they probably had to go with the most basic, generic, cut, copy, pasted, alternate recolors that they ended up with, because time constraints, and the publisher is more worried about money rather than the artistic side. Which ironically they mentioned, I think they already mentioned that in the video.
Particularly in games, because so much of it is business dictated, and sometimes the art just gets swept away and crushed and ground by people who, as we said earlier, don't give a shit about games. So it's sometimes hard to even argue for the artistic freedom when the artists never had the freedom in the first place. So it's such a tricky subject to navigate. But I did a Jimquisition not long ago about, you know, editing versus censorship, and how sometimes taking on an audience suggestion and changing the art is not a bad thing. To me, it all just comes down to, are you making the best product that's making the most people
guys.
that you want to make happy? So sometimes I feel those changes can be positive. With the Mass Effect thing, I used to be very much in agreement with you and then sort of rail against the petition and everything. And then I just kind of was just like, you know what, it doesn't matter. If they petition, if BioWare changes it, they obviously did not have the artistic belief in that ending.
Sure.
And if they don't change it, they do have that artistic belief, and I can respect that. So yeah, I try when it comes to the whole, because there's so much talk these days about censorship and game developers being dictated to, and I try and be a bit more casual about it these days than I may have been a few years back. So it's, yeah, at the end of the day, it all comes down to just whatever they decide, I'm just going to roll with. At the end of the day, even if I disagree with it, and I may say I disagree with it, I can at least respect whenever their decision is final, you know.
Absolutely. I think that one of the things we always talk about, internally anyway, is that when, and I hope maybe some of the people out there that are still mad at me, your fans or whatever, that are still maybe mad about that, I totally get it, is to understand one important thing, which I think is somewhat salient, which is when your job is to say things.
I'm not really, like, still mad at him. It was a bad perspective. I was totally mad at the time, if anyone saw the original video. Cussed like a sailor, all right? Because I was a sailor. So, yeah, totally applicable. And, you know, it wasn't even something like, oh, I hate Colin Moriarty. I mean, that was never a thing. Never met the guy. So, for all I know, he could be a cool guy to hang out with and drink a beer. I don't really fucking know. Point being is that we all have bad thoughts and ideas, and sometimes our brain doesn't filter those bad thoughts and ideas before we spit them out, especially when you're recording something. In fact, I would say I probably have a little bit more respect for Colin for, you know, admitting that, you know, to certain degrees he was incorrect.
And you say things all the fucking time. You do a podcast, you do videos, you write things, you're just saying things off the cuff, people are interviewing you. You're not always going to do it well. You know what I mean? And it's, I have a lot of regret about that video, because I'm just like, I could have effectively said this so much better and so much less in such a less inflammatory way, but I didn't. And I just hope that people out there, and I think a lot of people have over time, just forgiven and realize that, like, well, for all of the negative, I've said a lot of things well. It's just that mathematically, I cannot get it right every time.
No, I'm the same way, you know. I mean, I look back on, especially my old, when I really did think I was some hot shit fucking shock jock kind of guy. Like, I look back at some of the stuff I wrote and said, and I get depressed because I'm like, I was a complete edgelord shithead, and you know, I guess I don't regret it, because, as you said, it gave me that opportunity to learn eventually, just because eventually.
So yeah, that's their overall take. And, you know, now that they're sitting there talking about that, it may actually, I actually found one of my videos someone did a video response to from like, I think it was like 2016, 2014, somewhere in there, all right? And I started to watch it, and then I couldn't watch it. And it was just because, man, I don't know. So we'll see. I messaged it to someone I thought would find it interesting. All right, so here's this video, ladies and gentlemen. Video response to Snoopy died today. I don't even fucking remember this controversy, whatever the fuck I was talking about. Like, I started watching it and I still was dumbfounded. I was like, what am I even complaining about? I couldn't remember. All right.
What's up, gamers? Gamer Rant here. Doing a video response to a video entitled Snoopy Died Today, which is a video response to my Valve CEO Gabe Newell sees you as nothing but money. So let's hear what this fanboy has to say.
The problem with this, the fact
Fanboy.
that you don't have an intro.
I don't need a fucking intro, you moron.
Now, ironically, if you actually watch the fucking video, there's an intro in the fucking video. That's just the tip of the iceberg of where this fucking video is going, ladies and gentlemen. Just the tip of the motherfucking iceberg.
Dropping them F-bombs. I actually found this intro on my computer. Look, there was Colin. Oh, I remember that guy.
Spent 39 seconds trying to make a holy shit moment on something that is common sense. People that don't know you don't care about you.
And yet he did a video response. Isn't that kind of funny?
Kind of ironic. Not everyone uses common sense, and apparently the gentleman who's doing the video response.
I'm not going to watch the whole video. I just kind of wanted to show that to people. I'll link it in the description box if anybody actually wants to watch that thing. But the point being is that I sat there and I was watching it, and I was like, yeah, I probably could have articulated some things a little bit better. And I've even done this after videos that I've recorded myself. Even in this modern day, I upload the video and I'll be sitting there watching. I'm like, oh, I should have said this. This would have made a better point. Or, you know, maybe I shouldn't have flew off the handle and just started screaming at the camera for no fucking reason. And it's something that I've actually talked about quite the amount of times on this channel. I think there was even a point I made an update video where I was like, I'm going to try and lessen the profanity, which got mixed response from my subscribers. Some were like, oh, it's all right, it's your channel. Others were like, no, that's cool, you know, be you. But I think other people have to understand is that I also want to be a writer. That means publisher of books. I'm also working on middle grade novels as well for children. So obviously the parents will expect some kind of professionalism from me. So, you know, occasionally dropping the F-bomb every now and then, I don't really see as an issue, but like constantly repeating it throughout the video and getting angry for things that in all reality don't really amount to a whole lot seems counterproductive. All right. Is anyone still here? Because YouTube says nobody's watching, and I don't know if that's an error or what. It just says like live viewers, none. Which is all right. At least the video would get done. Da-da-da. Is anyone still here? Oh, okay. Yeah, it must be an error with YouTube because it says nobody's watching. So does anyone have any thoughts or questions in regards to these two videos? Like, do you still think Colin's a douchebag, or, you know, do you think, yeah, he said something dumb back in the day. He admits that, so, you know, it's fine. That's kind of my thinking on it. I didn't even know this video existed until like a few days ago. Because I got the idea to do this kind of live stream a few days ago. And while I was trying to find this video, I think it was actually in the comments. Someone mentioned this video. So then I went and searched for it and found it. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't even know he kind of changed his opinion and, you know, regrets some of the idiocracy that he stated in the video. So, let's see, what else can we do? Because I basically have an hour before, other than holding my cat, because it wants attention. Yeah, that's right. It fits in my hand. We found it in the backyard. It looks like it was the, there's two other kittens back there, but they're a little healthier. They run away. This, it was sick. It wasn't moving that fast. It's also the runt of the litter. So we brought it in. I'm taking care of it. I'm probably going to keep it. Well, there is no probably. I am going to keep it. I mean, I did spend $118 getting some stuff for it. And when it's not sleeping, it wants to be held. I was watching TV yesterday, and it literally climbed up because I was laying on the bed, and then it sat on top of my head. And I was like, you better not get used to that, because at some point, you're going to get heavy. Have like a 3-pound cat trying to lay on your noggin. All right. So for anyone who just showed up, we did kind of talk a little bit about the Xbox reveal that they had, the showcase. I already stated for anyone who just got here that I felt it was better than PlayStation's. I mean, the host literally only showed up once, and then we never saw her again. And they just kind of focused on the reveals of the games. Some of the games, I was like, that's cool. I enjoyed the Fable series, so I am looking forward to Fable. Hopefully that isn't really microtransaction-y, but then the preceding sequels really weren't that. But then again, that was the 360 era, so who really knows if the companies decide to jump down that rabbit hole. Hopefully they don't, because I do enjoy the Fable series, so it's probably something I will look into. Obviously, there's Starfield. That game did interest me, but that's also because I'm a Star Trek fan. I'm more of a Star Trek fan than a Star Wars fan. Mostly because it's the exploration and the discovery that I find interesting. That's one reason why I started to play No Man's Sky back in the day, was because it would feed that dream, you know, I guess you could say, that fantasy dream of traveling through the stars. Or even something like the holodeck. I ain't gonna lie. Something like the holodeck existed today. Even if we couldn't have them in our house and we had to go to some kind of business with a subscription plan, you could hang out there for an hour or two in a holodeck. Oh yeah, I would totally fucking do that. Especially if it was just like Star Trek. So like, I would go there to literally basically take the role of, say, any character in Star Trek and play out through the episodes. I think that would be cool. Or any TV show that I liked, for that matter. Hell, even a video game. I am the Dragonborn, all right? So, did Blake Testament or All the Stars, did either of you see the showcase? Like, what did you guys think of it? Or anyone else that's watching that hasn't interacted with the chat? I'm looking for something, seeing if there's that's not what we're looking for. Oh yeah, I saw that Star Wars Outlaw. That kind of got my attention, but it is Electronic Arts, and they've been known. Their Star Wars games are kind of hit or miss. You know, they're kind of hit or miss. Ironically, I'm not trying to find a video. I'm just trying to find an article that goes over everything that was shown. Apparently, I put S Xbox, whatever the fucking S Xbox is. Oh, yeah, I remember they showed a lot of Persona games and games from Atlas. I think it was actually like 3. I don't know. The Persona series never really caught my attention, even though I like RPGs. It was just, I've seen people talk about various ones, that they're good, they're great. But it's just, even though I like RPGs, it's just something that's never really caught my own personal attention. Starfield. So, yeah. Unless anyone has any questions, I think I'm done. I don't really have any. That was pretty much the video to kind of relive that little experience and then give my thoughts and opinions on it. So if anyone has any questions, otherwise I think we are done. I think he or she is hungry, so. Or just wants attention. Take your pick. Probably both. It's like sleeping. Attempting to sleep. Because I keep moving it. I named it Spot because it has a spot in the center of its forehead. But my original idea was because of Star Trek. And Data has a cat named Spot in it. So I have another cat that's named Hodor. After Hodor off Game of Thrones. Okay, so nobody's got any questions. So I think we're done. I thank you for coming to this today's stream. Hope you enjoyed it in some fashion or form. I do have some plans for the channel. I'm still working on a writer's perspective, Golem, Lord of the Rings Golem video, which that's going to be kind of recorded differently. Basically, I'm going to write a transcript out for everything that I want to say. That way my thoughts are clear. Those kind of videos are going to be a little bit more, I don't want to use the word professional, but they're going to be more thought out as opposed to me just looking at the camera and do what I normally do. Whatever comes to my head, I spit out to the camera. I'm actually going to think about what I want to say, which will mean that I won't repeat myself, because anyone who's been with me for a while may notice I sometimes do repeat stuff, either because I forget or I'm bringing that point up again for whatever reason. The past 3 or 4 videos I've recorded, I've actually deleted probably 3 or 4 different areas within that video where I was like, oh, I already talked about this. I should not repeat it because it's just going to make the video longer, and there's no point in repeating what I already stated, which I think is better in the long run. It's probably one thing that probably also hurt my older videos is I'll admit I did do a lot of that. I repeated myself a lot outside of saying and all right, clearing my throat. But I was also watching another YouTuber's video called Critical Drinker. He mostly focuses on the film industry, which I kind of want to start, because I'm a writer, I want to give my own thoughts and opinions in controversies surrounding that form of entertainment as well. So we're going to have a writer's perspective and then a writer's reaction is a new segment I thought of like a day or two ago. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this stream in some fashion or form. And I hope to see you on the next video. I might upload a video today. I have to go pick my nephew up around 2 p.m. So I probably won't record anything until after that. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the almost said next gamer rant video. it still comes out every now and then. I'll see you in the next video. Everyone have a nice day. What? What?